Hey, 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 party people. It's Brandi and Cesley, and we are back with Blooming Through Faith, the podcast that helps you grow and bloom in your mindset, lifestyle, health, and wealth. We want you to know that you are capable, beautiful, and worthy.
Okay, Grow Girls, today we're going to dive into a topic that touches all of us at some point, how to be more decisive. So whether it's choosing career paths, making parenting decisions, or even just deciding what's for dinner, that's a big one. Indecision can be paralyzing and exhausting. In this episode, we're going to talk about the psychology behind why we struggle to make decisions, and we're going to share some practical strategies to help you cut through the noise, trust your instinct, and confidently move forward. So if you're ready to stop second guessing and start taking action, this is for you. The first thing we want to get into is, why are we so wishy-washy? Why is it so hard for us to pull the trigger on something? So Brandi and I are going to go through some of the just basic reasons why we're so wishy-washy, why it's so hard for us to make a decision. And then we're going to give you a solution for it and offer some tips and tricks as to how to overcome that issue.
I love it. Let's do it. Okay, so the first thing that can cause you to be indecisive is fear. Yeah, fear of failure or fear of making the wrong choice, okay? The fear of a negative consequence, and it makes us hesitate. It makes us overthink, right? We are more sensitive to potential losses than gains, leading to decisions that are paralyzing us, or we're overanalyzing every situation. We're second guessing it, right? Kind of all together because we are afraid to fail. We are afraid to make the wrong decision. But guess what? You're gonna fail in life.
Yeah, it's just a
Like, if
part
you
of
don't
life.
100%. If you don't try, you don't know, right? That's the biggest thing is like I'd rather go in faith, right? And the solution here is just that. Have
Mhm.
faith over fear. Get out of your comfort zone. Try. Like that's the biggest thing, because at the end of the day, if you fail, who cares? Right? If you made the wrong decision,
Yeah.
okay, let's go back to like the restaurant. Let's go back to something that's not so big. Right? Hey,
Yeah.
what restaurant are we going to go to? You know what? Let's try this new restaurant. X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z. You made a decision, you're ready to rock and roll. Guess what? That new restaurant sucks. Okay, cool, but did you die? Was it
Yeah.
really that big of a deal though? No, it wasn't. So just make a decision, go after it, make a better decision next time. Then you're like, I am never going to go to that restaurant again. Cool. So you're not going to fail there. Same thing with business, right? If you want to go after a new opportunity, do it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Give it all you have. And if it doesn't pan out, then it doesn't pan out. You have nothing to, you didn't lose anything. Maybe you got friendships. Maybe you learned different things. Maybe you didn't make $1 billion like you wanted to, right? But you learned and you got something else out of that, right? So having faith over fear is really important. Is there anything you want to add before I go to number two, Cecily?
Yeah, I just think that faith is part of the process, right? Like failure is part of the process. And listen, God already knows what's going to happen to you way before you did, right? So like a lot of times you think like, well, we have this fear of failure and we think if we just, don't do anything, we just get paralyzed that nothing bad can happen. Well, no, God needs you to fail. He needs you to fail at a lot of things before he gets you to where you're supposed to be. And if you speak to any successful business person, they're going to say, yeah, I failed and I failed a lot and I failed often until I didn't. Like I messed up. And I always like to think about a baby. And this sounds weird, but like, have you ever seen a baby trying to learn how to walk? Like they don't fall one time and then they're like, well, that was a nice try. I'm done.
I'm
We're just
crawling
gonna
for the rest of my life.
I'm just gonna crawl forever. No, you know how many times babies fall and bust their butts? Like all the time. They fall over so many times until one day they get it and they're like, hey, look at me. Like I did it. And they just, because they're not scared. They have no fear. They just fail and fail and fail and fail until they don't.
I love that. That is good. It's a good analogy. And I also love what you said too. Like, God needs you to fail. God also needs you to go after it. God
Yeah.
needs you to be decisive. Like, if
You gotta
you have
trust him.
something on your heart, go for it. And also let go of control. So I am a control
Ooh, that's good.
freak. Like, I am literally growing and
I'm gonna
learning.
say was. You
Yeah,
were
I
a
was. I
control
was a
freak.
control freak. Now I let go and let God. I
Mhm.
let go and let God in every aspect of my life because I'm not in
Yeah.
control. He is. So I'm like, dude, what do you need? Where do you want me to
Yeah.
go? Where are we going? And my life has been so much better because I have let go and let God. But also, and we talked about this in the last episode, is I don't control the things that are out of my control. right?
Yeah.
I don't get upset with traffic. I don't get upset with people's actions. I don't get upset with other things. I control my effort. I control my attitude, right? Okay, so let faith guide you, not fear.
Mhm.
That's number one. The number two thing that could cause you to be indecisive is being overwhelmed with too many choices, right? Known
They're
as the
everywhere.
paradox of choices. Having too many options can make it harder to decide because the fear of missing out what is the best choice. Like, oh my gosh, there's all of these
Mm.
choices. What's the best? I'm feeling stuck. I'm procrastinating. So I just not sure what to do, right? So having too many choices can be overwhelming. So
The
this
sound you just made was really great. Uh-uh.
too many. It's like you're running into walls. It's kind of like this choice, this choice. There's actually oh my gosh, Cecily, I'm gonna send you this reel. I saw it and it was like if anybody's watching us on like YouTube or Spotify, but it's like this person. She's going like this.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
It's like trying to be a mom in this day, and it's like, did I do the dishes? Did I get my work done? Did I do? And it's
Yeah.
like how we all feel all the time. Anyway, that's where it came from. People who did not see me are just gonna be like, what just happened? Okay,
What is happening?
back to the solutions. If you're overwhelmed by too many choices, ooh, I don't know. This seems like it's not rocket science, but limit choices, right? Narrow down the options to two or
Mm.
three. Too many choices can, increase that decision fatigue, like we just talked about, right? So narrow it down to two to three choices, right? Set a
Mhm.
time limit. Give yourself a deadline to decide. Even if it's a small choice, give yourself a deadline to decide.
Yeah.
Period. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
All I think about when you talk about this is like Netflix. Like when I get on Netflix and then I sit there for an hour trying to decide what to watch because there's too many
Mm.
choices. Like life was so much more simple. Okay. When I was a child and I turned on Nickelodeon and whatever was on was on. And I was like, this is what we're watching. Okay.
But
That's
it's
it.
also Netflix, Hulu, Paramount,
Yeah, it's
Peacock.
like what's not just what am I going to watch on Netflix? What streaming service am I going to watch? And then what am I going to watch on this? Like we live in a land of opportunity, which is so great, but we are given have you ever been to a cereal aisle? Like it is the most stressful thing in the world. You're like, what is happening? Why are there so many choices? So these are, it seems common sense, but like that's actually a really great tip. Like narrow down your options to two to three. Don't even look at anything else. And then give yourself a very strict deadline on when to decide by. Okay. Y'all, we're going to talk about the next reason why we are wishy-washy, why we can't make decisions, and that is perfectionism. Okay. The need for perfection can make decision making very stressful, right? Because when we are working in that realm of perfectionism, we want to ensure that our choices are flawless, which is impossible. Okay, you are not God. You are not perfect. We are built imperfect. You end up delaying decisions in pursuit of like the ideal outcome, right? This can happen with like little things or big things. What outfit to wear? Where are you going for date night? What are you going to do? I mean, I think about this too in women who are maybe just getting out of school. Like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? What major am I going to pick? What college am I going to go to? What job am I going to have? Like at some point, it's just it gets to be too much. We're looking for perfection, right? And with that, hand in hand goes lack of confidence because when we're seeking the perfect outcome, we start to immediately start to feel bad about ourselves because when you don't make a decision because you're looking for the perfect thing, you just end up getting low self-esteem. You end up having self-doubt, and all of that can lead to just uncertainty. You start thinking, am I even capable of making the right choice, right? Because if I'm not going to find the perfect one, well, am I capable of making any decision? We end up seeking way too much advice or reassurance from others before deciding. So, a solution for this, if this is something that you struggle with, you have to focus on your values and you have to just accept imperfection. Like, let's just accept that right now. In your mind, I want you to say, I'm imperfect, but I'm perfect that way, right?
Mhm.
Like, I am imperfect, but I am perfect that way. instead of looking for the perfect thing, because a lot of people will tell you that something different is perfect, right? You can go on one influencer's Instagram and see that perfection to her looks like one thing. You're going to go to a different website that's going to tell you perfection looks like something else. As a mom, someone's going to tell you that being a working mom is the best. Someone's going to tell you that being a stay-at-home mom is the best. As a homeschooling mom, I can tell you, do you know how many people have told me you have made the perfect choice to homeschool? Meanwhile, I have friends who are like, that's crazy. I would never do that, right? Everyone has their own opinions. Everyone thinks that something else is perfect. If you're looking at someone else's values to make a decision, you're never going to be confident in your decision. So, one, you have to align your decisions with your core beliefs and your long term goals, right? No decision is perfect, but think, what is my goal for happiness, right? If I'm looking to make a decision business wise, I'm going to think, what does success look like to me? Success to me personally is being flexible, being able to work from wherever, whenever, right? That might not look like success for someone else. They're going to look for a different job than I am because their version of success might be, hey, I want to make sure I'm rolling in 7 figures every year. I want to have a big desk, big office, travel for work. That's great. We're definitely not looking for the same thing, right? So our decisions are going to look different. You have to commit to making the best choice with the information that you have.
I love, love, love that. And I love that your decisions should align with your core beliefs and values. And
Yeah.
everybody's values and beliefs and wants are different. So that was awesome. That was really, really, really good. Thank you for that,
Thanks.
Cicely.
I
I
thought
love it.
so.
All right. I thought so. No, it was really good. So make sure everything aligns with your values, not
Yeah.
other people. Which, talking about other people, that leads to number 5. So fear of judgment, right? So
Hmm.
sometimes it's hard for us to make a decision because we are afraid of judgment or what other people are going to say. Social anxiety or concern about others will think makes you hesitate, right? It makes it harder to make a bold or unpopular decision, right? Because if you are worried what other people are thinking, or even if you're in a group of people and they're all thinking one thing, you're thinking the other thing, it's like, oh, well, this is really hard for me to say this, or this is really hard for
Yeah.
me to follow this because everybody's saying that that's not the route to go. That's not what we should do, right? So you end up choosing what seems to be safe and what pleases others outside of what you truly want.
Yeah.
And that's sad because you have this one life. And we talked about it on a past podcast, but like the regrets of the dying, and that was one of them, is like they didn't live a life to their purpose. Like they were
Yeah.
too worried about pleasing other people and what other people thought than living out their dreams, their values, their why, right? Who cares what anybody thinks about you? Follow your heart, follow your dreams, make a decision and run with it. Because the people who for you will be by you and with you, and the people aren't won't. You know what I mean? Don't let the fear of judgment of somebody else ever hold you back. And we say it a lot here. The people who are judging, hurt people hurt people. Those are the people who are insecure. Those are the people who want to keep, pulling you.
Yep.
You're like you're swimming, you're in an ocean and people are pulling you down because they want you down on their level, babe. Don't keep swimming, let go, right? So the next one is just a mental overload, right? When your brain is overwhelmed by information, stress, or fatigue, it struggles to process and prioritize things effectively. We end up dealing with indecision, mental fog, and like kind of avoidance. And actually, this happened last night. Last night, I was like, Mitch and
That's
I
great.
trying, we did not have like, I have a good thing here, right? So Mitch and I haven't gone on a real trip, just the two of us, in quite a while, 2 years. And we're used to going on trips for 3, 4, 5 days together. Yes, last night after like I was working all day, I had calls. I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at all these things. So I'm like looking at this, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this, and like there was too many decisions. It was too much brain fog, right? So what can help here is to use a decision making framework, right? So look at some things, like write down pros and cons, right? So for us, what is the pro of going on a cruise? What is the con? What is the pro of all inclusive where I'm traveling out? What is the pro and con of somewhere close, right? That helps me make a decision of, okay, this is what we're going to do at this time in our life because these pros, outweigh the cons and whatnot. Does that make sense? So always making
Yeah.
like a pro and con list can really, really, really help you with decision making and a lot of things in life, right? Um,
I
anything
like
that
that a lot.
you like that?
I like that a lot because I like that. I like it a lot because it's Like, it takes something that can be an emotional decision, which is usually where, like, we struggle is because we're emotional about every decision we make, right? We're insecure about our decisions. We want to please others. We want to make sure that we're thinking about everybody. We want to make sure we're making the safe choice. Like, all these things that we just talked about, but this makes it just really black and white. Like, you're looking at it on a piece of paper and going, okay, wait. So why am I not making this decision? Now I know it's just emotional, because if I'm looking at this and this is clearly the best choice because it's right here written in black and white, I've written down the answer. Then if I can't make a decision, I know it's just me being emotional and insecure about it, and I need to just get over it.
So good.
Okay.
All right, Cecily, hit us with number 7.
Okay. So the next one, you guys, is emotional attachment. I was just talking about that. I didn't even think about it. Okay. Emotional attachment to outcomes, right? So we are emotionally invested in the consequences of our actions, y'all, especially if we have made decisions in the past that have maybe crashed and burned. That stays with us, right? Like, we sit there and we base every decision on the future based on what has happened in the past. Okay. And so we really like to let our emotions overtake rational thinking, which is why I love Brandy's tip on, like, hey, write it out in black and white. What are the pros? What are the cons? What's the worst that could happen if I did this? When we get emotional about our decision making, it leads to a lack of clarity, right? So this kind of goes hand in hand. We get emotional about decisions and we have a lack of clarity in our decision making. So when we're not clear about what our goal is or our values are, or our priorities are, it can be harder to align decisions with what truly matters, right? So we flip between a bunch of different choices because nothing feels right, because we're not even sure what we want. I went through this, y'all, a year ago. I was still really connected to a previous company that I was a part of, but I was moving into a new season with a decision that I had made, but I still had like one foot in each camp because I lacked clarity, right? I was emotionally attached to my previous decisions. And I was like, oh man, that's really hard to let go of. And when I knew, as soon as I wrote it out, like, I knew what the right decision was, to be all into ministry, to be all into this thing that I'm pursuing. But I hadn't given myself the time to really sit down and go, well, what is my goal? Like, where do I want to be 5 years from now? What are the values that I'm trying to work towards? And as soon as I sat down and thought, these are my goals, these are my values, this is my vision, then it brought clarity to what my decision needed to be. And I was able to easily make that decision because I had to just stop and go, why am I being so emotional about this? So my biggest tip for you, if this is something that you struggle with, is to reflect on your past successes, not your past failures. So remind yourself of the times when you made good decisions. This is really important. Maybe even write them down. It's going to reinforce your self-trust, right? Our indecisiveness is often rooted in fear. So you have to practice intentional strategies about writing down, like, oh, wait, but when I did try this, I was really good at it. Oh, I do make good decisions. I'm not wishy-washy. Like, you can become more confident and decisive over time. So these are all of our kind of top reasons why you're wishy-washy, why you're struggling with maybe making a decision, and our favorite tips on how to help you with this. We want you to remember that being decisive isn't just about making choices. It's about stepping into the authority and purpose that God has given you as a woman. Okay, so this is really important. Proverbs 31:25 says, she is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. So every time we think about our indecisiveness or our insecurity, we're telling God that we don't trust who He has created us to be as a woman, right? We are clothed with strength and dignity. We can laugh at the days to come. We don't have to worry about the decisions that we make, because no matter what, making a decision, whether you fail, whether you succeed, is better than just sitting and being stuck. The strength that we have comes from trusting in God's wisdom and the discernment that He's placed within us. So we want you to stand firm in your decisions, because it not only honors your values, but it also sets an example of confidence and faith for those around you. So we want you to trust in Him, trust in yourself, and walk boldly in the path that you've chosen.
So good. And being more decisive really empowers you, and empowers you to live with clarity and confidence, freeing you from doubt and paving the way for a happier, more purposeful life. So, Glow Girls, step forward with confidence in the decisions you make. We want you to remember that you are capable, you are worthy, you are beautiful, and we can't wait to watch you grow, girl.